Stephen,
How you doing, Joe?
what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing fine. And what about you?
Everything's great. Yeah, the sun is shining here in Kansas City. Hopefully, we
Yeah,
put last week behind us and we can move on.
great, great.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. Hey, man, I really have enjoyed your album, You and the Night, and I'm really looking forward to delving into it. And
Great, thank you.
yeah, you bet. And before we do, I want to know, as an artist, we're coming up on the 4-year anniversary of the pandemic. How did you survive that time period, and how did it change you?
It was rough for sure. I lived just outside New York City, and of course, everything shut down, so there were no gigs for, quite a while. I did some teaching on Zoom, and I did some concerts on Zoom as well, which helped a lot. One of the concert series was through the Global Music Foundation, put together by a friend in Europe, and he would do several concerts every week, from my living room at home. So, I kept working somehow, but it was rough. It was rough. I think it changed all of us quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. So this new album coming out has to feel good.
Yeah, feels great. Very happy with it.
How did you put this together? There's such a good flow to it. It just feels good. What was your kind of artistic vision?
Well, it kind of came about without a lot of planning. Harvey S., who did the excellent recording with the digital recorder, we did it in my living room on my Steinway piano. So we had no separation like in a studio where they fix everything and have everyone in a booth. We were all in the same room. Uh, we just kind of speculatively got together and decided we were going to just try recording. We did not rehearse. I planned ahead like what tunes we were going to play, and I let them know which songs I chose. And there were some arrangements, but they were minimal, so we just did them on the spot. We did 1 to 3 takes on each tune, and thought it came out great, so decided to release it.
So how did a kid from Pittsburgh grow up and become a jazz musician? How did all of this begin? How did this love for the craft begin?
Well, started out with classical piano lessons when I was little, as did all my siblings. And I did not have a lot of jazz growing up in the house, but my parents did take me to see an Errol Garner concert when I was about 13. So, of course, that, made a huge impact on me. I loved it. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I loved it. So that was my first experience seeing him live in Pittsburgh because he was from there. So my parents knew about him.
Yeah.
Then continued with my classical studies up through high school, and that's when I started to get interested in jazz. And then wound up going to music school for jazz at Indiana University, and then directly after that to New York City and area.
So what was there a stage, a venue in New York that you really wanted to play at? When you finally did, you had to pinch yourself?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
So, was there a stage or a venue in New York City, since it's kind of the cauldron of jazz, that you always dreamed about or thought about, and you finally got on that stage and you were like, wow, I made it?
I guess my one gig at the Village Vanguard would have to be the answer to that, which was in the late 80s with Annie Ross, Mel Lewis, and Dennis Irwin, an incredible band. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, what's been kind of the key? You've been around quite a while. What has kind of been your key to evolving and just keeping the momentum going in your career?
Definitely practicing, which I do more and more the older I get. If I could go back and do it again, I would definitely practice more when I was younger. And just hanging out, being on the scene, listening to jazz all the time, supporting my friends. I have a lot of friends who are great musicians, so try to stay in the loop that way. And one of my really important jazz gigs was at a pizza place called Arturo's, which I started in 2009. And that really led to me meeting a lot of other musicians because when people are new in town, they often go there because it's a very welcoming vibe for people to sit in. So I met a lot of young musicians there, and that really helped me as far as networking and getting more gigs.
So you've obviously been around a lot of older musicians throughout your career. What have you gleaned from the veterans and the legends and luminaries that you in turn now teach younger players that you're around?
Uh, well, some of the things would include trying to learn jazz from the recordings and not through books. That's so important because so many young people come out of colleges and they have not really listened enough. They've learned so much from books and the work that the other people have done. So if you really want to delve into this music, you have to go to the recordings and learn it that way. You have to transcribe solos, and you have to listen. You have to listen to other people while you're playing.
You know, that was the one thing I made a commitment to when I started this show back in 2011. I did not want to quote out of books. I wanted to talk to the musicians. And I think there's so much to be said because, especially with this art form being so uniquely an American kind of homogenized art form, is that to go to the source. It makes so much sense.
That's right.
Um, at the end of the day, you wake up every day as a musician. What do you look forward to the most? What's the best part of being a professional musician for you?
Definitely playing fun gigs with great musicians, which I've been very fortunate to do quite regularly. I work a lot. I'm a regular at Smalls and Mezzrow in the West Village, two of the best clubs I think that anyone could ever want to play in. So to me, that's the highlight, playing in clubs like that where people come to listen to the music. People from all over the world, they know about it from the live stream. Do you ever watch the Smalls live
Oh
stream?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So, how's New York doing? I know on the epicenter of everything that there was a lot of concern about big cities and how everything would come back, and we're hitting the warm months. How's New York looking?
I think New York's doing pretty well right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's more gigs than ever, more new places have popped up. Things are not quite exactly they were pre-COVID. A lot of places close earlier now than they used to. Places that used to be open till 1 or 2 a.m. Now it's like 11 o'clock. Restaurants are closing earlier. And I don't know if that'll ever come back to the way it was. On the other hand, there are still some late places like Smalls goes till like 3:30 a.m. every night. So people always have a place to go and sit in if they want very late.
So, why do you love jazz? At the end of the day, this is your life. This is something that you've been in. Why do you love it?
Yeah, that's a good question and a tough one to answer, but I guess it just speaks to me. I feel it. As soon as I started hearing jazz, I knew that's what I wanted to do. It just resonates within me, and the artistic freedom, the expression, improvising, and swinging. Those are all the things that I love about it.
So, Errol would probably be a show that a lot of people would say is a dream gig for them. But if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one musician in one place, where are you going?
Oh, there's so many to see. Well, let's see. One musician. I guess I'd like to go see Charlie Parker.
Yeah, yeah. Would you want to see him in New York or Kansas City?
Well, either would be fantastic, but I think New York.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that's when he hit his stride. I think there's probably too many bad memories of that cymbal flying in the air when he was here.
Could be,
So,
yeah.
so how's everything opening up for live shows? Things picking up for you here in the warm
Yeah,
months?
absolutely. Absolutely. I think better than ever.
So
More
if anyone out So if anyone wants to find out and come see you live or pick up the latest album, where's the best place to go?
You can check my website where I have my gig listings. My website is steveashpiano.com. That's STEVEASH piano.com. I also post regularly on Instagram and Facebook about upcoming gigs. It's often the day of the gig, so if you want to plan ahead, I would recommend the website.
Right on. Steve, this has been great. I really have loved the album. My son and I have been driving around. Just it's our go-to album lately. So thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for the
much.
music.
I really appreciate that. I guess you've been playing it on your show.
Yeah, I usually wait until I interview, but I loved it so much I had a leapfrog. So I'm gonna have to probably pick another track. So I'll
All right. Well, thank you so much, Joe. Really appreciate that.
yes, sir. Absolutely.